there's a lot of $50 off-the-shelf commodity hardware that's used, even in some of the more professional broadcasts. I still see when I'm going and setting up for some major events, I still see you can tell the difference between someone that started their broadcast career in esports or came from, as I call it, T-sports or traditional sports. But at the end of the day, they're all producing the same signal, and most of the use cases are not even consuming a full 1080p 60 stream. Even if you think you are on your fancy 4K phone, most of the providers are cutting that down. So here's just some of the off-the-shelf gear. I'll skip through that slide, but this is the gear that we use for a high school Overwatch production, which consists of north of 40 camera angles, you could think about it. But it's all done with NDI. Or who's familiar with NDI? Of course you are, because you're young. Okay. Jeff as well, because he's building that into his broadcast trucks. But just a couple things to point out here. This is Overwatch is a game that involves 12 people sitting on a stage playing a match, if you will. There's 6 on one team and 6 on the other team, so you've got 6 computers. They all have little commodity webcams on top there. They've got their headsets where they're doing the game audio. And down there in the bottom left is kind of depicted 3 monitors. It's a video mixing workstation, if you will. There's just an IP or a PoE switch that's powering everything, because there's usually a couple other cameras in the network. In this case, we're leveraging some PoE cameras that send back NDI video and give either the audience or the production the ability to mess around with that pan, tilt, zoom functionality. I'd say that's at the high end of the collegiate and high school productions. Kind of in the middle range, you've got either prosumer or consumer level cameras, anything that has a HDMI output, whether that's a GoPro or in this case, that's a cheapo Panasonic GH2. It's one of the cheapest DSLRs in the market that has clean HDMI out. So that's a $200 device, goes into a $100 HDMI capture device back into your box, and now you've got any sort of nice lens you want to put onto that. In the bottom right, there's the observer machine. Who doesn't know what a observer machine is in esports? Okay, well, thanks for raising your hand. An observer is a virtual cameraman. So almost all the games, there's actually another person that logs into the game, but instead of being one of the competitors, they're flying around a camera throughout the map or the environment in the game. And so that you can think of that as the main sideline camera, but that camera can instantly teleport somewhere else in that game that's taking place. So that's really one of the feeds that's used a lot. And then you've got your real life cameras, if you will, that are capturing the players' faces or some of those moments and high fives and things that happen.
It's one of the
in between.
Sorry. It's one of the harder things about an esport broadcast, because if you're looking at a traditional sport broadcast, there's a ball. So if you're, let's say for the announcers that are talking about the game, they're following it. Everyone's looking at the same thing, right? In terms of a esport match, like let's say League of Legends, there's 3 different primary lanes, 5 champions playing on 3 lanes, where there might be simultaneous action. So there has to be a lot of coordination with whoever is running as the observer and the shoutcasters calling the game. The more amateur streams will have the same person doing both, which makes it easier. But then as it goes on, you're trying to check with what's going on throughout the entire map. So there are some, while a lot of the tech and stuff that's coming out makes it a lot easier to stream an esport match than it would be a traditional sport match, the actual content can be more difficult to follow at times, just because of all the simultaneous action. There are some games that have a ball like Rocket League, but for the most part, most of them have simultaneous action during the stream.